and welcome to Glimmer of Genius, episode 26. This is a podcast all about Magic the Gathering, bringing you the latest happenings in the MTG community. From news to tournament reports, deck ideas to MTG finance. We are Glimmer of Genius. If you want to learn more about the show, check us out on Facebook at Glimmer of Genius, leave a comment or a question, and become part of the conversation. My name's Luke, and I make YouTube videos. On the line with me is Level 2 Judge Grant. How are you doing today, Grant?
I'm good, thank you.
Normally we'd have Simon with us, but he's away doing revising for some sort of a maths thing to do with his job, numbers and stuff. So he's not going to make it on the show today, but we are going strong regardless. Grant, what have you been up to in the world of Magic?
Well, I've been actually playing games and stuff, which is, unlike me. Mostly because Cameron, the Canadian guy that's running most of the events at Dice Thing, he's gone back to Canada now. So they need people to run more events. So because I've sort of been meaning to get back into Magic, and Standard doesn't look as boring as it was, say, 6 months ago, which is like the last time I played. I've actually been wanting to go along to like the Saturday or Sunday showdown things. Been going on a Tuesday as well, which was quite fun. But yeah, I'm enjoying playing decks that I have got off the internet, but not like the top 8 ones. Just some interesting stuff that I found. So that's quite good. Yeah,
I wouldn't feel guilty about that though. That's just the way it works. Like getting a deck list. I mean, gone are the days where you have to kind of scrabble about bits of paper and work stuff out and come up with ideas completely on your own. Like if I have an idea for a deck, even if I'm thinking, okay, I want to put these 2 cards together, I'll still look at the internet and see what other things are there.
Oh yeah, and that's not to say that it's exactly the same. I think I've got the 2 decks that I'm playing at the moment. There's a green-black ramp one and a Sultai one that uses Muldrotha, the Gravetide or whatever it's called, as a focus. Each of them, particularly the green-black one, I think I must have changed at least like 10, 15 cards kind of thing. The Muldrotha one probably changed maybe 8 cards. But yeah, so it's still very much, my kind of take on it.
Absolutely. I guess this is when I like the internet and I appreciate the internet, because it's like a hive mind, isn't it? You can share ideas, and at the end of the day, if you've only got a finite amount of time in your free time to actually do this stuff. So yeah, you'd be daft not to look at these things and see what people are doing. And also, I find as well, it's really good because kind of like rounding out a deck. Like you might have pretty much an idea, but actually people come up with things that you don't always think about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Particularly when I've net decked before, particularly like for modern, when it's something very kind of abstract, and you look at the list and you go, "Why is that there?" or whatever, and then you do a few games, you go, "Oh, it works for this," or whatever. And I always kind of like that moment where you kind of, the first time you play it, you just want to go with what it says because you don't really know how to tweak it yet, and just like, okay, what is this? And then you find out all these cards and what they're there for, and then you go, "Oh, I know." There's a card that they haven't thought about, which does a very similar thing, and then you go off in your own kind of path, and that's kind of the direction I'm going in now, which is quite nice.
Nice, that's good. So, what was the deck that you played then in Standard?
So, I wanted to play. I remember we were talking about green black or whatever last time, I think.
Yep.
And that was fun. The list for that is pretty good, and I found a list that did like a green black ramp thing. So basically, it has like 3 Vraskas in it. It has like an Azor's Gateway, and then it has like 3 Josus and like some Torment of Hailfires in it.
Nice. So
like generally you kind of just ramp into Vraskas and kind of, that's just good. Then more often than not, you also ramp into, I can't remember if this was in the original deck or I put it in from another list I saw, which was a bit more just ramp focused. But it goes into Sandworm Convergence.
Oh, okay.
That enchantment that makes worms every turn, which is quite cool. And then on the off chance, which I can't see happening very often, but you go either ramp all the way into Josu with Kicker, just weird obviously, or you do the ridiculous thing in terms of you go into Azor's Gateway flipped, and then you do X is stupid for Torment of Hellfire.
Yep.
So that's quite fun. But anyway, so I was building that, and then I couldn't find the pieces I needed. I could only get no Torment of Hellfires, and I only had 1 Gateway. So I was like, okay. And then I was looking at similar green-black lists just for some ideas, like we talked about earlier. Just like I was just looking for any deck that had those colours in. And there was a list on, I can't remember what website, because it wasn't MTG Goldfish, it was another one. But went around Muldrotha the Gravetide, and it's kind of like a mid-rangey, reanimatey, value-y kind of deck. And it had like the Scarab God, which I'm not going to pay money for because I haven't got any. But I was like, okay, this is quite an interesting idea, because like I'd played against games where it'd gone long, and with the kind of red-black stuff being quite dominant at the moment, obviously there's a lot of removal. And what I noticed was just having like the ability to go like, because it has like Liliana, and you can get Muldrotha back from the graveyard if you've discarded it or something else. And then of course you can just play like a land, an artifact, a creature, whatever from the graveyard. And it just had like kind of two and three of some stuff that was just like value, like Walking Ballista and Glint-Sleeve Siphoner and stuff.
Okay.
And I had most of the pieces for that. I was still waiting for the rest to come through the post. So I just built it and played it at I think it was the Sunday Showdown and really enjoyed it. And I was like, actually, I want to make this my main deck and then maybe try the green-black one later kind of thing.
No, that makes sense. How does it... I mean, obviously, Muldrotha, or I forget how you pronounce it. Is it Muldrotha or Muldrotha?
Muldrotha, I think.
Muldrotha. So obviously, it is a she, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a big squiggly elemental thing. It
So-
can identify how it wants.
God, I don't want to assume it's gender, so we'll just...
Okay, let me just get a list up. So basically, yeah, so the original list, which I can link if people are interested, it only ran like one Muldrotha, and I was like, for the focus of the deck, that seems like a very silly thing to do, because it had like card draw, because it has like Champions of Wits and stuff. But yeah, so it's got, never mind like the removal, it's just got sort of standard removal stuff.
Yeah.
But it's got, four, so two Muldrothas, obviously the focus. Then it's got 4 Champion of Wits, 2 or 3 Gifted Aetherborns, 4 Glint-Sleeve Siphoners, it's got a Gonti, it's got some Hostage Takers, it's got some Ravenous Chupacabras, some Walking Ballistas, and it's got 2 Lilies and 2 Vraskas.
No
So
Scarab.
generally, you kind of just go with stuff that gets you some advantage, like Glint-Sleeve Siphon or Champion of Wits, but then you discard stuff that would be useful, because then you can go turn 5 Lily, get Muldrotha back, or get a Chupacabra back and then kill them with that, or if Muldrotha's in play, obviously you can just cast whatever you want from the graveyard. But yeah, so far it's quite fun.
No, that sounds awesome. I've seen the blue-black kind of reanimate deck.
Yeah.
You could be focused on reanimator as you wanted, play like the instants and sorceries like Chart of Course, and really kind of push that strategy.
Yeah.
Or there was the whole blue-black mid-range kind of thing, which you could then have that as a sprinkling. I'm very surprised to hear, or not hear, Scarab God in that list, though.
The original list does have Scarab God in it, but I don't want to spend like 40 quid for something that's going to rotate out in a few months' time.
So, okay, fine, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, in the original list it does have 2, which is obviously it's good. Like the original list seemed very much kind of, you want to reanimate this and you win the game, and actually I've won a lot of games just by having stuff that is good, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, you're going to grind them out, aren't you?
When was it, on Tuesday, against it was either mono black or like a green black list, and it was kind of doing the similar thing to me, like had Chupacabras, had Walking Ballistas, had Gifted Aetherborns, just more sort of play sets and stuff. And we were kind of doing the same thing, you know, we fatal push each other's whatever, Walking Ballistas to kill each other, whatever. But again, what happened was I got to turn 6 or 7 or whatever, played a Muldrotha and kept on recasting my Walking Ballista, and then of course it went in my favour.
Yep.
And the only thing I need to do was just stabilise life total wise. So what I've done now, which I haven't tried yet, but I've put in a couple of Woodweaver's puzzle knots, which sounds a bit random.
It does.
Because it gives you 3 life and 3 energy.
Mm.
And it kind of just, it off-puts, because I was using Glint-Sleeve Siphoner's ability so much, I did maybe about 6 or 7 damage to myself, and it was a turn where I could have lost, and it was only because I had that, what's it called, Argyll's Bloodfast, that I was able to gain life and then not dying, because I kept eating the zombie tokens that Lily was making. So I've just kind of included this to off-put that and give you more energy for the Glint-Sleeve Siphoners. But of course the benefit is, when you blow up the puzzle knots, you can then recast them again with Muldrotha.
Oh, that's sick.
So you've just got like even if you just do it for 2, and because green's quite rare in this, so even if you don't blow it up or whatever, it's kind of good. But ultimately, you can just go 2, sacrifice it, get this, and then next turn just pay 2, get it back, and yeah.
Is there any other artifact you can sacrifice for value? Like, I don't think you need something like a renegade map, but I'm thinking of stuff like that.
Renegade map is a possibility, but I think the point with the like recasting value stuff is that it's going to be late game. So it'd be nice if you could do that straight away, but because Muldrotha is 6 mana, and the earliest you're ever going to get it is turn 5 because of Lily. It's just not really worth having it that early on, because you've basically already got the lands you need.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. What about a way of sacrificing something to draw a card? Does anything like that exist?
Yeah, so I did the way I do all my decks, just do like huge gatherer searches for certain keywords. The stuff that came up, which was useful for recasting, was like Champion of Wits is good, because obviously you're drawing and discarding, so there's 4 of those already in the deck. Glint-Sleeve Siphoner gets you cards. But in terms of like actual real value, the best ones I found was the Puzzle Knot, Walking Ballista, obviously, because you can, get rid of it early, and then you can cast it for massive next, later on in the game. Another one was Filigree Familiar.
Oh, the dog.
The 3 mana fox that is when it comes in you draw. When it comes in you gain life, and then when it dies you draw a card. and I didn't want to rely too much on having Argul's Bloodfast like was the main focus, but that is potentially a thing that would be really cool as like a loop. Another one that I've done a one of just because I had it as like a pre-release foil and wanted to test it out until I got all the cards I needed was Torgar Famine Incarnate, you know, the 8-mana thing.
Yep.
That sets you back to 10 or the opponent on 10, but it makes stuff cheaper because basically, like my board is like, I don't know, a Champion of Wits and a Hostage Taker that's, you know, cast its thing or whatever. I just have creatures that don't really do very much that I can get rid of and then just cast again next turn anyway. Yep. So I wanted like a sacrifice out there so I can use Torgar and then I can just get rid of the Hostage Takers and then use them again, or same with Walking Blisters or whatever. So I want to see how he does. That should be quite fun.
This sort of style deck, I love it. I think it's really good. I tried to make, before they banned Marvel, I was playing Elder Deep Fiend in it as well. Basically, I'm playing an Aetherworks Marvel deck, but I basically tweaked it to make it a more Reanimator deck. Sure. So it had a bit more kind of longevity and a bit less kind of oops, I win sort of moment.
Yes.
It can still do the Emrakul thing, but I was just trying to be a bit different. I actually played you against it when you were on Red White Humans at in Shoreham. I don't know if you remember, but in that deck as well, so I had like the Deep Fiend, but I can't remember his name.
What does it do?
It's the one from, it's a big demon. When it enters the battlefield, you get energy.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you mean. When a creature dies, then it gives everything minus something.
Yes.
And then you can, I know which one you mean.
That could potentially have a little spot in there, maybe, against the right sort of decks. Because he reanimate, if you're going, because this is the thing, this is what was so awesome about the deck that I made. It wasn't necessarily the most competitive, but it was really fun because it had like the whole Aetherworks Marvel thing. But if people dealt with the Marvel, I made a boatload of energy, and I could use that energy to reanimate stuff.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The thing is, I remember when I was asking Simon for these bits, I was like, I need more drops and stuff. He's like, you making the deck I'm making? I said, well, it depends what deck you're making. But I think he's making like a reanimator one, so probably with Scarabs and stuff that you couldn't normally cast unless it's from the graveyard. And the focus of this deck is just that it's real value stuff. So the stuff you reanimate really is just kind of like between 2 and 4 mana stuff. So it's not like you're putting huge things in the bin to then reanimate for cheap. Like Liliana's reanimating thing. Obviously, that's really cool if you've got something huge in the graveyard. But really, you're mostly just doing it for like an extra Chupacabra trigger or an extra Hostage Taker trigger.
Yes.
So I like the demon, but I think it's better if I then focus the deck more towards like huge bombs rather than just sort of value, if that makes sense. But I do like he's Demon of Dark Schemes.
Demon of Dark Schemes. That name was annoying me. I was sitting there thinking, I bloody know this. I've played it. No, that's fair enough. It's just when you started mentioning the puzzle knocks as well, like.
Yeah, with the puzzle knocks, it might be worth it now, actually, to be honest. I put it in my main board because that is quite a cool idea.
Well, this is the thing. You don't even have to have that sort of thing main deck. I just think like that -2/-2 is a good reason to play it.
It's interesting because it kills my champions, my Glint Sleeve Siphoners, and the Chupacabras, the possible walking distance. But it leaves the Hostage Takers and the Gifted Aetherborns alive, which is quite nice.
That's solid.
So, yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
I've got one or two of those kicking around. I might have to include those.
That's really good because that's literally all the creatures you're more than happy to die for the reasons you've already said. I might have to make something like this now myself. I was playing
against someone that was doing mono black, as I said before, and like we got in this really grindy thing. We got to like turn 6, turn 7. He got me on like 3 life thing. Played like whatever the big demons from Dominaria is called, and was about to swing over the top, whatever. And every turn because I had Lily and I had Vraska, and I was just making. I think he killed one of them with Vraska's. No, Vraska's contempted Vraska, which I thought was good.
No.
But no, so like every time I was just doing Lily plus and then just sacrificing the zombies to Argul's Bloodfast and was able to get back up to like 12 health or something at the end. So yeah, Argul's Bloodfast was super good because I was using it to do damage to myself and just letting him go through with these Glint Sleeve Siphoners. Gifted Aetherborns was attacking with. Just waiting for it to transform and then just sacrificed all these tokens I had to it. It was pretty good.
And this Bloodfast, are you running that in the main?
In the original list, it had 2 in the sideboard, but after this game, I'm thinking of running. I've put one Search for Cancer in the main board, not actually for the transform ability, just to get stuff in the bin. But also I'm thinking of just mainboarding one Argul's Bloodfast and the other one in the sideboard because it was just really good, just being able to draw cards when you haven't got the stuff you need, as in things to put in the bin or reanimated things. And then when it gets to 5, you normally have so much stuff to kill anyway because you can cast it again if you're doing the right thing. It doesn't really matter, and it's just really hard for the people I played against to deal with. So yeah.
I like it. My only concern would be having like too many of those kind of effects, but it sounds like you're actually being quite mindful of the numbers as well, like not just going, I'll have 4 of that. It's
one of those things at the moment where, because I've only played this deck like 2 or 3 times really, and not in its current incarnation. I'm doing that thing where I do sort of like 2 or 3 copies of stuff, like these creatures, and then maybe do one-offs of certain other cards to see what works. And that's what I exactly did this Tuesday. One Searchrise Canter, one Argus Bloodfast, and when they worked really well, I was like, okay, well they can just stay at the main board now, kind of thing. Yeah. And then it originally started with like 3 Muldrothas, because I was like, oh, it's going to have to do its thing if I don't get there. But then I realised that in a long game, I tend to like draw almost my entire library or put stuff in the bin so quickly that 2 was just fine. That let me have another slot, and then I think I had 4 hostage takers, and then there was situations where I just didn't have anything to exile, so I was like, okay, they can go down to 3. And so it's in that little toolbox phase where I just want to play it as much as possible to try and focus it down.
Nice.
Yes, it's good. Having 2 Lilies and 2 Vraskas is just like every time the opponent just, turn 5, turn 6, that just comes out. It's just, it's a big effect.
That's really good. I don't know if it would be becoming a bit too cute now, but is it Trophy Mage?
Oh yeah, looking for 3 CMC one.
Yeah. Because I mean, something like being able to shoot at something like Aethersphere Harvester could be quite nice. But again, I don't know if this is.
But I think I did win overall. I think I lost game 1, and I think game 2 was interesting, and I think I managed to win game 3 because I had like Golden Demise and what else did I do? Oh, Battle at the Bridge. It's got in it as well.
Oh, nice.
Which is just like if you've got say 1 Walking Ballista, and in this case now a Puzzle Mine. Now that I'm making Puzzle Mines, that'll make it even better against them. It was just really good. Just and Vraska's contempting. Like I was contempting like Glory Bringers and stuff, and just it wasn't even getting rid of the Glory Bringer. It was more just like gaining 2 life that was important.
Oh yeah, big time.
And I think the opponent got really greedy with the what they call it, Scorching Sands, the one that just colourless and it comes in and does 1 damage to them.
Yeah.
And in game 2 or game 3, he had 4 lands, but only one of them was red. He had like 3 couriers out. So I just waited for him to tap red to do like a shock or something, or lightning strike, and then just killed all the couriers with golden eyes, and just the cards went away. I was like, yes. Yeah.
Ow.
So yeah, he seems to be, because I knew that he needed to be good against aggro, so good against removal, so therefore you could recast stuff, and I knew that he needed to be not too kind of like you said, kind of combo-y or so win the game, because it's going to be too slow when you face against burn, and just having sort of mid-range stuff where you could block with Etherborns or hostage takers, whatever. It just seems to do quite well against most things, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I do want to give my green-black deck a go, just because the idea of flipping Azor's Gateway and doing Torrent of Hailfire does sound quite fun, but I think this just seems decent at the moment.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's nice if you're able to actually not make it so obvious a target for Graveyard as well.
Yeah, because I did do it before where when I played on Tuesday, he Scavenger Grounds and exiled everything, and that did obviously put me back a bit. But I still just had like a Planeswalker on the field. I had like some creatures that were doing stuff, and eventually I think Champion of Wits died. Then I eternalized it, put some more stuff in the bin, and just carried on going, kind of thing.
Yep, no, it's good. It's good. Like you said before with Godfarrow's Gift, if you can have moments where like if they kill the Godfarrow's Gift, if you don't have anything really outside of the grave to kind of create a board presence or refill it again, then that's kind of GG. You're not putting yourself in a position where like I can't cast any of this, or I'll follow up you killing my graveyard with that Minister of Inquiries guy and just sit there while I'm getting beaten down or whatever. Yeah,
I like Godfarrow's Gift, but like you said, it was kind of a bit too weak to certain things, and I kind of just want a deck that is fairly normal, and that's initially where I went for green black, and then just saw this, and it was kind of just sort of spicy enough for me to have fun playing it, but also not too spicy so that it just doesn't work most of the time.
Mm. And how expensive? I don't know if you'd said earlier, but how expensive is Muldrotha?
$6 at the moment. I think I got mine for like £4 or £5. I think £5 online. I think I've got before.
That's all right. That.
I think the only reason it's as much as it is because of Brawl. And when I do get around to making a Brawl deck, I will be making a Muldrotha one, because then you can just keep casting the sagas when they're done. So that'd be fun.
With the wording of Muldrotha, is it you can cast one thing, or is it each of the types?
During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent. So that's a land, that's an artifact, that's a creature. And for instance, if you do a Walking Ballista, you can say, I'm going to choose artifact, and then play it and choose creature as well. So you can have.
So you can cast more than one thing a turn with her.
Yeah. As long as it's a different permanent type, and all you do if it shares types is you just say what it is. So if I go Walking Ballista as an artifact, then I can go Hostage Taker as a creature.
Very nice.
As long as you've got the mana for it, it doesn't matter. So yeah. And as I said, the beauty of Walking Ballista, not only by having dual types, but also you can go, okay, say I played it turn 2 and just ping some annoying thing, whatever, and then it gets to turn 6, I was playing for 3, with 3 counters on it, or more if it's even later game, because of course you're casting it, so you can choose how much mana goes into it. So, having a walking list is entirely pointless, but with Muldrotha it's quite useful.
Would you play something like Llanowar in there to help get some quicker things out? Or
I was tempted, but I think the issue I had with that is, one, it was a bit too similar to the green-black ramp deck, and I think it's already quite tight, this deck. There's not really much room. It's certainly not at the moment where I'm kind of testing everything. And I don't know, the problem I have with Llanowar Elves is it always seems like the card where if you're going to run it at all, you just want 4 of them. Yeah. I don't think I can have 4 of them in here. And also, although Llanowar Elves is just a very good card all the time, it doesn't really benefit from being reanimated at all, which kind of bothers me from a flavour point of view, even though it's probably fine.
No, that's fair enough.
But I don't know. I think if the format gets faster, I think it's worth it. But at the moment, it seems to be every game I've played so far, apart from when Burn's just done its thing, it's got to sort of turn 4, turn 5. I've stabilised quite well each game, so it seems to be about the right speed at the moment. And I'm hoping with the puzzle knot that it will be able to get a bit more reliable with the card draws with the Glitzy Siphoners, and also survive a bit better against quick decks. The other option was Glass Blowers puzzle knot, because the colours for that as well. But I think that the life gain and the extra energy was better than having Scry 2 and only 2 energy. Yeah,
if the red decks weren't as good as they are, then you could probably just get away with it. But
I was going to do one of each, but I thought it's just Woodweaver's puzzle knot. The extra energy just cinches it, really.
Yeah, the life is so relevant. Yeah, I don't think you can really afford to durdle against a lot of the aggressive starts, like against the red deck, playing 2 mana for the Glass Blowers puzzle knot. Mono red player just being like, all right then.
Yeah. I mean, the main way I look at it is that it negates one unlicensed integration or lightning strike. With Glitzy Siphoners, you can't really afford to be doing that. The ability that you actually want them for against burn, but with Woodweaver's puzzle knot, you can either think of it as negating a burn spell, or think of it as doing Glitzy Siphoners as many times as you want, reasonably, and not paying for it too badly.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you say about that whole negating a burn spell, like that is the difference between dying and not dying in quite a significant amount of games.
Yep. That's exactly what Vraska's Contempt is doing as well. It's not even the removal that is the most important thing for Vraska's Contempt in terms of when I play burn. The player I was playing against, he said he has a tendency to just keep like 2 or 3 lightning strikes in hand until he knows he can kill someone. And I think both games, the difference between him winning and losing was a Vraska's Contempt gaining me 1 or 2 life extra. And since I knew life game was so important then, and also generally at the moment, I thought, why not? Would be this puzzle knot, and just that you can reanimate it for 2 of any in colourless mana is just really cool with Muldrotha out.
Yeah, it's really relevant. That extra little bit of life and all the rest of it. Myself, I haven't really been playing any games at all. I've been trying to sort out my my collection a little bit, just tidying up.
That's what you're doing as well,
yeah, just to sort of tidying up. There's a massive pile of cardboard in the corner, and I've got to so slowly getting through that.
I told you I lost my Emrakul, didn't I? I was building like a modern one. I knew I had an RPTQ Emrakul somewhere, and I'm basically at the moment what I'm doing is I'm making so that I have like 3 modern decks, and then I don't sort of fart around with having bits of decks all over the place.
Yeah.
And one of them needed an Emrakul. I was like, where the hell has it gone? And I found it the other day after about 4 weeks of looking for it.
Oh, good.
But yeah, and I got like a cheap, one of the cheap sort of battered promo ones from Simon the other day, like 2 weeks ago before I found it. But yeah, I did eventually find it. But exactly, just having cards all over the place is just so frustrating.
Yeah, and it's hard to get motivated to tidy it, because a lot of it is just kind of like sorting through crap. But I got this massive box I got out of the loft because a friend of mine was asking about getting into Magic casually, and he literally just plays on his lunch break with his mate every so often. Yeah. So I sort of said, don't buy anything. I can give you 100 times more than what you get for actual money, and I'm not going to actually want money from you.
Yeah.
I've got boxes of stuff you can just have. And it got to the point where he was like, I don't think I can take all of this. Like this. So I gave him, you get those cardboard boxes where vendors have, where they store their commons and uncommons in.
Oh, yeah.
I think I gave him about 2 or 3 of them, just full of commons and uncommons. And they're spares, because what I was trying to do for a while, and I still am, to be fair, I just haven't, I've put it down for a little bit, was trying to amass play sets, everything sort of.
Yeah.
Well, every set from sort of Lorwyn onwards, or Lorwyn when I started playing backwards. Sorry, as much as I can without getting into the realms of silly money, because I've got a lot of cards, and I've got quite a few modern decks, and probably just a few lands away from actually having legacy decks.
How would you organise it? Would you do each by folder and put a thing on the side, or would you just do it by box and then label it by set?
So what I've done is I've got I put it all in folders. I'm basically making play sets of every block.
So I do like that. I think that's something I would like to do at one point, but at the moment it's kind of, I don't know, not really worth the money. But that is quite a nice goal to have, and for me as well. It would be from when I started playing, which was 8th edition, which of course is exactly modern. So I would just have like a complete modern set, which is quite a nice goal, I think.
Exactly. Because I was looking at this and thinking, like, the cards you've got, or the cards that, the average player has got, are only going to be worth something at any given point in time.
Yes.
And if I reach a point where I decide I don't want to play Magic anymore, I can't ever imagine that being anytime soon, but having a selection of random tournament staples in some boxes isn't actually going to necessarily be a good thing, because I don't know what the formats are going to be like, what's being played. So that was the other thing in my head that made it a little bit more palatable, having all this stuff.
Yeah.
At least I can say, well, I've got a play set of every card in the Lawing block, and I've got a play set of every card in this block, I'd actually sort of say, well, that I've got all of that. That's a thing now that I could perhaps at some point in the future maybe sell to someone who wants to be collecting it, rather than necessarily just having a collection of cards. I don't know. That was my thought as well. And also, I didn't really know how else to store it, and I felt like just having them all in boxes, colour coded, is really good for like organising and saying, right, I need this random common for this modern deck now, which has now become a really good sideboard card. Yeah. It's great to put your hands on stuff and find stuff, but really and truly, otherwise, that's the only thing it's good for. And then the cards just sit in a box.
In terms of like reprints, obviously it doesn't really matter for cards like, say, Negates, but for cards that actually are worth money, how would you handle those? Like Fidelian Click, for instance.
So what I'm not collecting, I've decided, because it gets silly, is I'm basically ignoring all master sets.
Okay.
Which is why when I'm doing trades and stuff, people I'll say, "Oh, have you got any of this card?" And they go, "Oh, I've got it in foil, or I've got the Masters version." I just say, "No, don't want it." So,
what about Thoughtseize, for instance?
I have a play set of each version.
Wow. Okay.
There's
crap all over that example.
Yeah, sorry. Blood Moon's probably a better example. I only have.
Yes.
I only have 4 whiteboarded. I think it's got a half moon symbol on it. So what's that? The dark.
Or the dark.
Yeah, I have that version of Blood Moon, and I have 4 of them, and I don't have any other version of Blood Moon. So I probably... The thing with stuff like that is I bet at some point I have to take it on the chin and just buy more versions of it. So it's not... It's weird. It's kind of like, this is why I'm slowly kind of amassing it, and not really... I'm not going out of my way to do this. I'm just kind of getting cards, like whatever. And especially like drafts and things, people say, "Oh, I've got these spare commons and uncommons," and so if you don't want them, I'll have them.
Exactly. To be fair, because I can see myself doing this, because I realise, particularly as of late, where I've been buying a lot less cards, but I still kind of like the collectiveness of it.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of me making, say, cubes and stuff, it's kind of nice to go around, Unstable's a really cheap set. It's not very much money to get like 3 of each, whatever. I can see myself in the same position where, say, I've only got Theros Thoughtseize because I wasn't really collecting like super expensive cards when I was playing because it's very, very casual. I can see myself just going like, C Theros for, if you're putting a modern deck, it doesn't really matter which version you use. So I can just have a little reference thing saying C, whatever, if you need that card, I guess. That saves you money, I guess.
Yeah.
Depends how OCD you're going to get about the collection, really.
Well, exactly.
But with the master sets, am I right in saying there's never been a unique card in any of them? They all are 100% reprints, yeah?
I believe so. I can't think of...
No,
I think Modern Masters, Eternal Masters, they're all just reprints. So I like those sets existing because it does take a small amount of pressure off of the prices of other cards, and it means that there's less interest in the original versions because people are going to try and get the cheaper versions. But yeah, I don't bother with them at all. I basically got into Affinity a little while ago and put the deck together and stuff, and people were saying, "Oh, I've got this bits and pieces," and I think I got the lion's share of the deck off of one person, but there was like a couple of random cards in there. It was like, I was like, "I don't want that." He was like, "Why?" I was like, "Because it's the Modern Masters version." He was just like rolling his eyes. I was like, I don't want it. I don't want the Modern Masters version. So I don't even want to bling it out because people were saying, "Oh, I've got Expedition Ornithopters." I was like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
Like, I'm I'm not doing that. I want boring looking deck, just so that I can then say, well, because so that's the thing. The main thing behind it is it kind of makes me feel better about investing in a deck, because I put a lot of money into getting the Affinity deck. In my mind, I'm thinking if I decide I don't want to play Affinity anymore, rather than just sort of selling off all these cards and potentially taking a loss, I've got significant chunks of that set or various other sets.
Yeah, you're not like, it's not going to waste because it's still part of your collection.
Exactly. And part of the reason I've adopted this attitude is I've realised over time that I don't really pay enough attention to what I buy and sell cards for, and if I make money.
Yeah, I worry about the same sort of thing, really, yeah.
A lot of people I speak with, they say, oh, like Shy's really good, for example. He says, oh, well, I've bought this and I've managed to, well, I sold that part of that deck that I got for it, so I've not lost out on anything. And he keeps a bit better track on it, so he's not really ever spending too much, whereas I just don't. And so another thing as well is because I like to try and play as competitively as possible, I like to have the options open to me. I don't.
Yeah, that frustrates me as well, being limited by that.
Exactly, and I as much as I love playing Burn, for example, if I felt, for example, in Modern, I was thinking I don't really want to take Burn to this tournament. I don't really, for whatever reason, I think that's not going to be doing very well. I don't just want that to be my only deck.
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have. Like, again, I kind of struggle with that idea of I don't want to put too much money into this or buy too many decks, and that's why at the moment I've kind of narrowed it down into these 3 decks. And to be fair, one of them I traded over like a year into 4 Lily of the Veils, and I did have Lilies at one point, but again traded them out or sold them or whatever. And I've traded into these as part of this deck, but it's a lot easier to sort of swallow, as it were, if I go like, oh, if I just build this collection, then if you play a deck and don't like it, say if you literally wanted to try a deck and then you really just hated it, you haven't wasted anything, because again it's just part of your collection, and all you're doing, you're not spending money for a deck, you're spending money on your collection, and you're just utilising that collection. So I like that attitude. That's quite cool.
Yeah, that's been my thought process. It's like, if you remember, I was playing Living End for a little while. I haven't actually played the deck for a long time, but in the process of getting that deck together, when I built it, I actually sat there and thought, well, I've got all the cyclers from when I played Alara Reborn in Standard, because I didn't just bin all those commons and uncommons away, and I've got the fetch lands from Zendikar, because I acquired some green-black fetch lands, and even though I took a big break and I could have made very good money on the green-black ones when Jund was really popular back in the earlier days of Modern, I was like, no, I'll hold on to it, and I then get paid off, because what it came down to is I've got to buy 4 Street Wraiths and 3 Living Ends, and I've got Living End, and it's like,
I had a similar thing with Noel from the Store Balance Living End. All I needed was a Living End, and the rest of it was just commons and uncommons. Just that's easy.
And it does feel good when you think, oh, I want to play a deck, but I haven't actually got to buy a whole 60-card deck. I can just actually use bits of what I've got there. And it was the same recently. We were talking about.
I always thought that as well, in terms of like, people I know that are trying to get into Magic or whatever, and I always said to them, like, if you think about getting into Modern, I know it can be expensive. 5 or 6 budget lists on Tapped Out, I just save for either, me recommending to people, or if I just wanted to, try a deck that's not worth very much money just to put people on tilt if they lose to it. Like, I like having that as an option. And then if they go like, oh, I actually want to get into Modern, I go like, okay, cool, well, this is 20 quid, and it will, win you at least half the games you play. And then if you win any money, you just put into it like I did with Modern, and then, as long as you think of money as an investment and spend wisely rather than just buy random decks, and, you'll eventually get into it, kind of thing. And it's like having that option, it's nice.
Absolutely. And I think it's really hard for people as well when they see that they go and spend some money on some cards, and they're thinking, well, this is how much I'm prepared to spend. Any more seems like a lot, but sometimes that money doesn't always get them very far in terms of actually building a deck, and they think, well, geez, I spent 50 quid and I've only got like a few key cards. And actually now a new set's come out, and now that's negated a few bits of this, and now I've got worthless cards, and I think that's a hard pill to swallow for the first time. And I think that's why a lot of people who don't play Magic, when I talk about Magic or it comes up in conversation, they kind of just say, I just don't get it, like, you spend all that money and it's just like, what have you got for it? It's kind of like, well, like anything else really, it's like Warhammer. You spend a lot of money on these figures, and some people look at that and go, you spend money and then you have to paint them yourself. It's like, what's all that about?
I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, like I said, I was kind of tied up the decks I've got and trying to rethink about, where I want to spend money in Magic and stuff. And I kind of had that conversation with myself where I was kind of like, oh, is it worth this money? And then you just go to work and stuff and talk to sort of like, in inverted commas, like more normal people. And again, they'll just spend like, 50, 100 quid doing like, going to see some team play live somewhere, or, someone that pays, say, 50 quid to do like a marathon somewhere. When again, you could argue, oh, you pay money, but then you'll still have to do running. And so, again, it's all these kind of normal things where it's normally like an activity. You haven't really got anything to show for it. So although Magic, cool, you're just spending money on cardboard. Like, it is reusable, it is an investment. It's not like, say, Pokemon cards where, because of the changes between franchises, the cards aren't worth very much money now. With Magic, they're always going to be worth money. And I think having an idea like you, where you've got this very organised collection that's just building up, and kind of stops you from being very, like, what's the word? Kind of just spending money, very ad hoc and not very responsibly. I think that's a really, out of all the hobbies you can spend money on, it's probably a pretty good approach, to be honest.
That was my hope with it. And I think a lot of people sometimes look at what I've got there and they think, God, you're spending a lot of money. And I think to myself, but the side effect is I don't have to magic money out of nothing if I suddenly want a deck. Like, in a weird roundabout kind of way, it's saving me money in some ways. And a lot of the stuff I've got as well, you just acquire it. You don't particularly. It's just kind of over time you've got it. It's only the more recent stuff that you actually have to buy.
It's like two examples here. Like with there's a new version of Restore Balance, which is one of the 3 decks that I'm sort of keeping. I haven't played it yet, but it runs like Giving in the Trials, which of course was worth a lot of money. Then I saw someone on the trade group selling 4 for 20 quid. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll pick this up. It's not worth very much money. I suppose if I was being more sensible, I could have waited another 6 months until they rotated out and probably gotten for maybe half of that. But I was like, I might want to use it standard, whatever. Yeah. And it was cheap. And then the other example, again, is the standard decks, this sort of Muldrotha thing. Again, apart from, like I said, I bought one Muldrotha because I already had one. And I bought like an Azor's Gateway and these Hellfires. Like, must have spent maybe 20 quid, and the rest of it was just stuff. Most of it's from Kaladesh or whatever. I just have it. And again, I didn't, because I'm sort of getting back into standard after not playing it for a while. I knew I didn't want to spend money, but I knew I would have to spend money at some point. So that's why when we had that conversation about do I want to get back into standard, I was like, I have to get like all these, actually, to be fair, Heart Crowns aren't worth very much now, but like anything that makes a top deck, I don't want to spend that much money. I intentionally looked at kind of the mid-range stuff or the low value things, and knew that just to get back into standard, like I said, I'm having quite a good time with this deck already. I've only had to spend maybe 20, 30 quid, and I'm thinking to myself, because I don't really buy booster packs anymore, I might buy like one bundle every set just to have the storage box more than anything else. Yeah. If that's my output, and then maybe spend maybe 20 quid on singles every standard rotation or whatever, that's how I justify it to myself, and that's pretty good, really. Particularly when, of course, when it's finished, as long as you don't immediately sell off those cards, which probably isn't a good idea anyway. If you're putting them into a collection, you can probably justify those singles you've spent money on, to be honest. Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of the time it's trying to get that mileage out of what you're doing. Yeah. Definitely. So if you're able to spend that little but get quite a lot out of it, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, because I did this when I stopped playing Standard. Actually, I built this vampire deck. I think I must have spent about 20 quid on it, but I only played it maybe once and then stopped playing, and then played it again when I got back to Standard maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it didn't do very well. Whatever. So I kind of regretted that. But what I'm kind of looking forward to now in terms of me covering a lot of Cameron's shifts at Dice League is that it's going to make me play regularly. So whatever I build or whatever I spend money on, I will have to use it. So that's kind of enforced, as well as obviously, like, basically, because I'm judging it, the event kind of paying for itself, I am at least going to be making use of those cards, whatever I choose to do, which is kind of nice. It's in a nice way forcing me to use them. So I think if you get into kind of whatever format you're playing, if you know you are going to be spending some money, I think the first thing you need to do is make sure that you are regularly doing something. Maybe not every week, but just have it somewhere that you're going to be doing it maybe at least every 2 weeks, just that you are going to get money out of it regardless of what happens, I would say.
Yeah, it's value out of it, whether that's financial or enjoyment. Because one of the things that really kind of woke me up to this kind of approach, my older brother, he loves his cars. He's had more cars than he has years worth of driving. I always kind of judge him a little bit harshly and like, what are you doing throwing money around cars? And one of the things he likes to do is tinker with them. And back in his boy racer days, in particular, he was it was this thing called an induction kit. I don't know if you know what that is.
Something to do with electricity, I know.
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It's to do with... the only reason I know this is because he he felt the need to explain it to me. It was to do with the intake of air into the engine. And it either cooled the car quicker or it allowed him to accelerate. The end result was a slight increase in acceleration speed.
Sure.
And also it made a cool noise when you change gears. Or when you started revving up.
For like buying certain play maps, like at least you're using.
Well, this is it, and it was. I always used to be like banging to Warhammer and Magic, like all the stuff that I was doing, and I'd see him throwing money away on a car, and it's like as soon as you drive a car away from wherever you've bought it, whether it's a new one or second hand, that's just gone down in value. Everyone knows this, and as soon as you modify a car, you shave the money off of the price of this thing. It's very hard to actually add value to a car.
It definitely does give you context, really, with these kind of more, again, in commas, normal hobbies. It kind of does justify us a lot more, doesn't it?
It made me feel really good about what I do. And I said to him, like, does it not bother you that... I said to him, I'm not judging you for doing what you're doing. I said, but does it not bother you that you're not adding value to the car?
Yeah.
You've spent money on the car, doing it up, but you've actually taken money away from this. And he just said, well, you've got your hobbies. He said, I enjoy the time, the process of... And I was like, okay, I get it. And to my mind, you've fully justified, not that you needed to justify it, but it makes sense now. And obviously it's a poor financial decision, but it was about the journey and hats off to him. Whenever there's been something wrong with my car, because of all the stuff he does with his car,
of course,
he's been very, very helpful in fixing even the most basic things that I say to him, I haven't got a bloody clue how to do this. And now the boot's on the other foot, really, because he's just like, he's able to help me out with it.
I think once you accept that all hobbies are poor financial investments, regardless of how you look at it, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
All hobbies is you're spending money to not be bored, right? So as long as you accept that some are going to be better than others in terms of investments, but all of them ultimately are, by their very kind of purpose, wastes of money. I think it's better that way.
Yeah.
I think the main difference as well, which made me laugh so much, was with cars, of course. Again, if you're modifying them, if you're tinkering them, whatever, that's cool. The car's going to last longer. But ultimately, of course, cars will die at a certain point, and you have to get to pass an MOT, and of course, that's quite difficult. And if you're making all these modifications, maybe that will, do something to the car to make it worse, or whatever. But I've got this idea of, obviously, he would have to modify it and know exactly what's to pass the MOT and have to spend more time doing that. Well, for us, say if we're going to, say, a standard event and we haven't played for like a year, obviously we'll have to modify the deck, and that's fine. You're not deteriorating the cards by doing that. But I just like the idea of you turning up to like a tournament, you haven't played standard for 6 months, and like some government officials going, oh, you haven't got your standard deck tax, we're gonna have to tax you for that. This isn't legal, we're gonna have to fine you for this. So it's a good example. I think when you, like I said, if you look at, again, normal hobbies where you're not really doing anything, you're just going to like a stadium or going to a gig or whatever, and then you compare it to, again, if you kind of reduce any hobby down to what it is, as in, you're just watching something or you're just spending it on cardboard, I think you can make anything sound a bit silly, really.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Well, my dad used to go fishing.
Yeah.
And he would compete, and he wouldn't win anything like financially. He had tons of trophies, like local competitions, but I mean, you think the amount of money in decent fishing gear and not really any resale value, because stuff like that, once it's getting a bit used, it's going to be quite limited how much you can actually use it. But
I like the idea of this getting more mainstream, though, in terms of like, everyone has a relative or a dad or whatever who's really into fishing and having these trophies. I like the idea of, like, in say 20 30 years time, my dad keeps banging on about this bloody promo progenitus he's got on his shelf. Like, you've got these really boring trophies, Dad. Shut up about it.
I was just thinking as well, actually, we're doing really well for time, but supposed to mention Battlebond.
Yes, we are.
What have you got to say? Because I've got nothing good.
So, I've literally never played Two-Headed Giant. The only thing I know about Two-Headed Giant is what I needed to know to pass my judging exam. And I sent to be playing it this weekend because a friend of mine I haven't seen for a while, but as used to play Magic and wants to get back into it, and we thought this was kind of a nice sort of catch-up event as well as playing Magic, was to go to this pre-release for Battlebond. So I'll give it a go and see what happens. But I think I'm going to be looking up the rules like all the time with this because it's going to really confuse my Magic. But looking at the set, I think if we ignore the Two-Headed Giant bit for now, the design looked really cool. Like I like all the partner planeswalkers or creatures. I like the just generally a lot of the card designs, and also some of the reprints like Dublin Season and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't fault the set.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think the set design's good, and the way that it's been done is really, really good. But as you said, Two-Headed Giant doesn't really appeal to me at all. And the thing is, this is exactly the kind of set that I would normally make a cube out of. Because I made a cube out of Conspiracy, I've made a cube out of Unstable. Let's just say any of the sideways printed booster packs is what I've made a cube of so far.
Yeah.
And I really like this design. I really like the cards that are in it. But I don't think I like Two-Headed Giant enough to want to make a cube out of this, or at least to get enough use out of it. But in terms of it being a thing, and I think I am going to have fun this weekend. But Two-Headed Giant, I'm not really sure about. And it's not going to be a problem with me because I'm going to be going with a friend, but lots of people that are going to this pre-release without any friends, and technically they're opening a shared pool. I don't want to be at an event disputing like, oh, who owns this mythic and stuff. That's going to be awkward as well.
God, there's got to be a better way of doing it than that.
Yeah, because that's the state of play at the moment in terms of if you don't know your partner, you are opening a shared pool. So I have no idea like how they're going to advise players to do that because that's just going to be hellish. So go with a friend, make it a lot easier.
Oh my God. I was thinking to myself, I can't imagine a way in which if I turned up to play Two-Headed Giant with strangers that they could possibly make it worse, and they found a way.
Yep.
I totally get that if Two-Headed Giant is your thing, then yeah, you go for it. You play the heck out of that, and you love life, and you go for it. But my Two-Headed Giant experience, I've only played it once or twice, and both times I was like, this will be really fun. It was a charity event, very low key, not competitive, really good. Everyone was in a good fun mood. It was really great, and the event overall was really good. But the last round was after we did a Modern Masters draft. It was a Two-Headed Giant draft, so you draft like you normally would, and then you just play Two-Headed Giant.
Yeah.
So you got paired up and did it. And I got paired up with a guy that I like, but 10 minutes of, I think we should do this. No, I'd like to do this. Oh, what about this? No, what if they do this? I'll do this. And this is not just me, this is like both ends, every turn. I was, after a while, and I could tell as well, the guy that I was playing with on my team was as bored as I was, but we weren't annoyed at each other. But at one point we were just like, yeah, and we both, I can't remember who said it first, but we were saying, should we try this? But one of us just said, whatever ends this game quicker. It's just like, and at that point we were both on the level. Like, it was just like, yep, that might just get a crack on. And we felt quite bad for the people we were playing against because we were both just like, not really feeling this anymore. But yeah, I think don't like it.
The main issue I have with it is that it has a lot more caveats, a lot more kind of niches to it than than a normal game because you've got another player. And again, it's really good if you've got a partner that works really well. And I think there's lots of stuff where you can do where you can be like talking about stuff openly and kind of misleading the opponent and stuff. But because that's not something I really mess around with. Like, to me, Magic is just pure strategy, pure tactics. I don't really care about, like, if an opponent does kind of like a oops, I got you kind of moment, it doesn't really work on me. Like, if they're kind of doing kind of like a really bad poker face but on purpose, I don't really care. Like, all I'm looking at is the board, not the opponent. So all the kind of nuances of Two-Headed Giant in terms of communicating and miscommunicating and all this sort of teamwork stuff and fooling people, whatever, it just doesn't appeal to me. I can see how that would appeal to someone. I think particularly someone like Mav who does very good, like, psychology kind of based stuff and tricking opponents into doing whatever. Yeah. But one, I'm not interested in that, and two, it doesn't work on me either. So I don't think either side of that would interest me very much at all. No. So honestly, I'm looking at this set going, it's very well designed, it's very cool. I'm probably going to have fun this weekend, but I'm going to have enough of it after this weekend's finished. However, when this is done, I'm going to have some really nice cards for Commander.
Yeah.
It's how I'm looking at it, if I'm honest.
Absolutely. And I think, as well, just to touch on your point about the set, I think they've got some really nice reprints in there. It's really clever, and it's going to be great. You're going to have some real wins, like you say, opening a doubling season for many people is going to be great.
True Name Nemesis, Land Tax.
True Name Nemesis. It's just, I can't believe they went there for this. I mean, and again,
less powerful in this one, though.
No, it is, but that's the great thing about it, because a card like that, what can you really reprint it in? And this is the perfect set, because it opens up that whole play of who are we gonna choose, and it's like going to be one of the very few formats where, like, okay, I got to cast True Name Nemesis. Oh, it's dead next turn because the other guy killed it. It's like, oh.
I'm looking at the other reprints. You've got Swords to Plowshares. This must be the only format where you can Swords to Plowshares a True Name Nemesis.
Yeah,
because the other opponent would do it.
It's so good.
you'd be having a conversation with somebody, let's say if there's some, I don't know, legacy player that just doesn't really care about releases anytime soon, and he's like, oh yeah, I saw the Plowshares True Names. Like, how have you done this? Like, oh yeah, well, there's this 200 Giant set, but it's also got a legacy card in it.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's great.
I'm surprised by the mechanics they put in. Like, Partner was always really a cool one, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most, just because it's a really nice command mechanic. But also they've put support back in from Over the Gatewatch, and support really didn't do anything. There was no cards that were played at all that had support in Standard, and I think they missed something because support was a really nice design thing. But what I was surprised to know is they didn't even have to rephrase the mechanics. It does say put 1/1 counter on up to 2 other target creatures, not even just your own ones.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if you've seen.
I didn't notice it was worded like that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that either, because I think they tried to do a bit of it, with that surge mechanic. They were like, oh, it's really good in multiplayer formats because more people are looking to cast stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, sure, and then no one kind of cared. But 2 things about this was, one, of course, it allows you to put stuff on your allies' creatures, which it could have been worded, on a non-opponent's creature. But because it says any target, there's a card in this, and I'm sure there's some other ones in the set as well, but it says, whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, draw a card. You can even put this on your opponent's creatures as well if you want to, because support is just target creature. And I'm sure there's some, destroy target creature with a counter on it kind of mechanics which would work really well around that. I think they've not rehashed, but like tried to reuse this mechanic really well in this set, I think.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see old mechanics appear, but actually you get a new layer of playability around them. It's stuff you might have seen before, but you think, oh, actually, this in here, it's awesome. It's not just what it used to be regurgitated. You're actually going to get a whole different experience.
I'm surprised they didn't put Surge in here, but I'm going to throw it out there and say, if this goes well and they do another one, then Surge is definitely going to be back in there, because again, that was a mechanic you didn't see any play at all in Standard either from Over the Gatewatch again.
Yeah.
Was it Surge? Yeah, it was Surge, wasn't it? They cost cheaper if you cast another spell, or someone else has cast another spell this time.
Yeah, that was Surge, yeah.
There's one of them. There's a few cards in here that are new cards that have already got. Not that I really pay attention to these people, but people in Legacy have already said like, "Oh, this is quite playable." And one of them was Archon of Valor's Reach, the 6-mana green-white card. But it's a 5/6 flying visions trample. Again, because it's Legacy, apparently that doesn't really do anything. It's the ability, which is when it comes into play, you choose Artifacts, Enchantment, Instant Sorcery, or Planeswalker, and players can't cast spells of that type.
Oh.
So I think the idea is you put it in the bin, you reanimate it, because it's Legacy, so probably do that turn 0 or 1 or some nonsense.
Yeah.
And then do that, and it's fun having cards where the card is entirely fun, entirely balanced, but then you put it in the context of Legacy, and like, oh, actually, this is quite good.
Yeah, it's good. It's cool that they do that with the sets. That's like I was saying before. Like it's, even though this is a set geared towards a casual environment, it's nice to put these extra things in there.
Yeah.
Keep people brewing. Keep people interested.
Yeah, I think Doubling Season is probably the best one in terms of, particularly newer players that want to do Commander, and just like, oh, I want this card, but it's 20 quid, or however much it is now.
Yeah.
Trino Nemesis is nice. Land Tax is nice. To put these cards that are worth lots of money down, because like you said, it's going to be difficult to reprint them otherwise. That's just good, I think.
Absolutely. There was an amusing moment actually as well when I first started seeing this set. I saw some cards, and I didn't get a chance to look at the spoiler properly, but I saw Doubling Season, and I didn't realise this wasn't a standard set. And I was
that's what I saw. Yeah.
And I was like, well, hold on. There's now going to be 2 Doubling Season type effects. I thought we were past. We've had Aetherworks Marvel. We've had other bannings. I thought we were past this. Like, what the hell? And then
I like that you're dressing wizards like it's like a partner you're having a struggle relationship. Like, wizards, we've had to talk about this. Not in public, please.
Yeah. I know that. My mind was racing a little bit, and I put in a group chat for the team. I was like, is this a standard set? This just feels like it shouldn't be a standard set. And they're like, well, we got True Name Nemesis in it. And I was like, oh, okay, thank God. Surely they wouldn't put that in standard. And then I was thinking, actually, hold on, I wouldn't put it past them. But then they're like, no, it's not. And then I saw things like Land Tax, and I was like, okay, no, fine. This is definitely not a standard set.
Land Tax is standard, Jesus.
Yeah, there was just a moment there where I was a bit concerned, but it was all good.
You just wake up. What's going on? Oh, I had a bad dream. And Land Tax is standard. So that doesn't sound too bad. I know, but Doubling Season was there as well. True Names as well. They're everywhere.
So that is all for now from us. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, give us some feedback on our Facebook page. Follow the group and keep up to date with whenever we are sending out podcasts. We can also be found on the MTGcast network. That is mtgcast.com, as well as our own podcast website, which is glimmerofgenius.podbean.com. Once again, thanks very much for listening and stay tuned for more.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.